Let's see now a few work tools that I will suggest to try to build your confidence in playing this piece. A first thing is that if you want to play fast this preludium, I feel personally that sticking with the thumb on the F that you have here in the middle and then on the B flat, I don't know, I feel it slightly uncomfortable. It's kind of locking me if I want to accomplish speed. I prefer instead to alternate 1 and 2. That gives to me a sense of freedom in my gesture. I feel like I can better fly on these keys. See what I mean? And so on. Yes, it requires a bit of time to, become natural in this changing of the finger, but I feel that at the end it gives, at least for me, a bit of more freedom. And of course, in these figures, you want to explore what is the right degree of forearm rotation to help you grasping all the notes near or far from the bass note, the F or the B flat. So it's not just a simple finger playing, but activate the degree of freedom that your arm has. In particular, I think the rotation. And of course, we should practice trying to remember that we have a main beat taken by the left hand, and the second main beat is the second note in the right hand, right? So not to develop a habit that would make things sound like. So a way to practice this, I feel, could be equally important, equally useful is instead to skip the first 30 seconds in the right hand and strike right away that second main beat for each quaver. That means several times, so that you would develop familiarity both in doing here. Paying attention, especially when you go far with the weak fingers, to get that note clear and present. The arm cooperate with the finger to take that note with good assertivity. In the introduction, I mentioned quickly about this disguised polyphony in a monophonic line, or vice versa, you can say in the opposite way, it still works. So I want just to underline, let's see the polyphony that we have underneath this figuration. Maybe with a bit more of sensitivity. So now, of course, I would never dictate what you should do with phrasing, with legato, staccato. It's, such, I believe, a free kingdom, and it depends on your taste, on your feelings, on so many things. But I just leave here, this is kind of my diary, my thoughts, and then you are free to take them as yours or to reject them. I don't feel that playing staccato the left hand, as I see in the edition that I have in front here, I don't feel to me the appropriate thing for this kind of writing, because as I said, this would sacrifice that game of the polyphony that is hidden in the figuration. So if if you like it, of course, do it. I personally prefer something else. I prefer to think about these lines as it is a cello in a playful way. So I don't even care about saying I play legato, staccato, portato. I just play with that. And like often when you hear good cellists playing Baroque music, it seems that you don't find a rule, an order. They just follow the flow, and sometimes they underline a step with a staccato, sometimes with a legato, sometimes with a portato. So we can play it alone for a few times, exploring, seeing what, according to your taste, makes this line more beautiful. And perhaps with a crescendo. This is about these first 2 bars and a half. So let's keep going. Now we start finding a figuration that would be conveniently split between the 2 hands. You can search for the junction points in the way that you feel work better for you. You see here my own fingering and splitting arrangement. You can try it out, and if it works for you, you are welcome to use it. And the basic thing I want to underline is that I believe we don't have to think about this as a work for your fingers alone. Actually, I believe that the most important part of the work is done upstream in your physical, flow of actions. For instance, the main beats are often clearly taken by your muscle in the shoulder, because they are the ones that activate this arm in going up and down, right? So if I do like this, I am exaggerating to make it evident. What is it that is lifting my arm and then decides to let it fall is the action of the muscles that I have here. So for this note, it is my shoulder that is the engine of the situation. I am simplifying things. However, this to say that then along the figuration that you are playing, there will be contribution in other muscles and parts of your arm, forearm, hand, depending on what makes the figuration easier, comfortable in that moment. And I believe that here, I'm tempted to say, as always, rotation is a big part. Rotation of the forearm. So we could practice this figuration, shutting down any actions in the fingers as a training step, and just playing these notes with the arm, and in particular exaggerating the rotation of the end. you start releasing what you for a while say locked just for the purpose of exploring your possibilities somewhere else, you can then unlock your fingers and let them cooperate. But I feel the image is that your fingers will work as your feet when you walk or run. Of course, you are not walking or running because the actions of the feet alone, clearly not, right? And I think playing is the same thing. So the feet are essential, are the last, ring in the chain that has to, perform the important functions of channeling in the right way. So they must develop their solidity, their structural role, but they are not alone the engine, and probably they are the least part in the driving action. So let's now activate a cooperation of the fingers that, of course, they need to do these actions because the key is producing the sound when it goes down. So I don't see any reason about why we should stretch the finger up to search about, I don't know which power. The power is overly available from the arm upstream the fingers. And this doesn't mean that I need to restrain the movements of my fingers, that is forbidden to see my fingers lifting. If lifting is a natural step of freedom that perhaps is giving a bit of momentum to that particular note. But generally, what the fingers have to be able to do is to go down, channeling a coordinated action that involves forearm, arm, shoulder muscles to different degrees depending on that specific moment. I need to practice, for some time these junction points, trying to make them seamless, right? So I can park my attention there for a while. Okay, let's keep going here. So we are at... Again, you see my fingering, and I want to drive your attention here to one thing. So we have this F, right? Do you realize, do you feel it in your feelings? These are things that at least I feel first, and then maybe sometime I like to, why do I feel that? What is that feeling I have inside? Do you feel that this F in the musical message, in the musical fabric, has a very different role compared to the F that we have at the very beginning? Here in the first bar, this F is nearly nothing, is a complement, an harmonic feeling. But here, I think in composition is called the dominant pedal. The dominant pedal is something that generates expectation, positive tension. Is a note, the dominant, in the scale that is held for a long time, and over it there are harmonies that develop. It is the case. And the dominant, that is of course in the key, the note that is creating attention to find a resolution, is generating with these harmonies developing a sense of what will happen next. And this is precisely what we find here, right? So we can imagine this like a pedal here. And here it is what is gonna happen. There is this beautiful rising up with this note. So I think would be very appropriate to play with lower volume at the beginning, maybe with the soft pedal, and then a crescendo. What it comes after that expectation, after that rising, this joy flourishing or explosion, you call it as you like. Let's see a bit of the fingering. Apart the possibility of using the pedal, I feel that here the harmony is progressing so intensely that I like to hold a bit these notes. You see, right, that at the beginning our important notes were, and as I said, in the middle there was just a complement. But here in the middle we have a very important line. Here I think really we can release ourselves, and each of these notes are important. And here this flourishing, I don't know, personally I cannot think about it like I don't know. I feel and here again in the middle we have a very important, beautiful line in my opinion. So the harmony altogether is this melody here in the middle. So here I like really to leave myself and giving to each of these notes a kind of, they are all leaders. Even here in the higher line, which one is the more important? I cannot choose, even the bass is beautiful. So, of course, if you want to play forte, fortissimo, these chords, you might want to practice a bit of drops, of folding on them. So, hitting the keys, that requires a contraction, a tension in your fingers, and then as quickly as possible to recover a relaxation after that. So this training exercise. That for me is also helpful to warm up. I didn't warm up this morning because this really wakes up your fingers' reactivity. That is what they have to do when there is power delivered from the arm. And then again, this flourishing figuration. I cannot think about it like a simple sequence of quick notes. No, because you see, so we are here, and what would be the landing point? That is in fact what we'll find one bar later, right? And this flourishing, see, when I am here, I should close. And instead, what Bach is doing, and you see what we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 full tones. In the antique music, I think 3 tones in a sequence were called devil in music. But here we have 4 of them. It is horrible, I feel. It's the hell coming out of the piano, and I feel I wanted to underline that. Here you see how I split the scale. And oh, sorry, I stepped back for saying one thing. So regarding practicing this scale, that thanks God is going downwards, so it's the more comfortable direction for our right hand. So if you are like me that do not practice at all scales, unfortunately, because perhaps like me you have say 6-7 hours in a week to sit at the piano, and I don't want to waste them in playing scales, I feel how to practice it. First, to develop the reactivity of your fingers in staccato, and as a preparatory step, playing each note with your full arm action. So the shoulder muscles are the engine, and all the rest is a, kinematic chain to reach the key. You can even repeat each note. Important is that when you strike the key, you let your arm, become relaxed. And while you do that, you feel that your fingers' muscles are waking up, are warming up. They become more reactive in what they need to do. That is to channel the energy that is coming from upstream. And after you've done a couple of times these, single notes falls on each note, you start going to a more, to a less staccato playing. And notice that your hand is comfortable with different angles depending on which side of the keyboard you are traveling on. When I'm here, it stays fairly, perpendicular to the keyboard. But when I am more or less here, you see that naturally the end likes to stay, of course, inclined with respect to the orthogonal. So I'm not here to talk about geometry, but just pay attention, feel it, and so don't fight against natural, tendencies that are acting to bring you to where things are comfortable. So there are often, you realize that if you do not fight against this natural orientation of your hand to tilt, you might realize that those steps are easier to play. But I was saying about how to practice this scale. So staccato single notes, then a kind of portato, and then legato. And perhaps even repeating segments of the full figuration. And again, trying to avoid movements in your fingers that are happening against the physical reality that you need to go down, So feel that you are excavating in the keyboard to grasp these notes. You don't have to look up in the sky. There is the sky, there is not the keyboard. Rotation of the forearm, and the upper arm is also acting, making you feel that, oh, I should be free to go forward, I had better coming backward, depending on the step where you are. Let's see here a possibility about how to split this upgoing scale between the two hands. So we are here. And I intentionally exaggerated, the action of my playing mechanism. If you are seeing, the full arm is in charge to taking the main beat of each quiver. So with a fall, with a drop. And it is active even after that in, moving forward, or the forearm in rotating to help the fingers. It's like you feel the fingers are calling for help, for support from the arm, or vice versa. You can see the arm is going towards the fingers' action to help them, to cooperate them, to make them feel supporting, solid in what they are doing. There is forearm rotation, very important. Especially rotation anti-clockwise, rotation clockwise, so clockwise going upwards, anti-clockwise going on the F here, then again clockwise. There is the temptation of holding these notes. I think would be a very good idea. Also at the very beginning. downward of the fingers like this. Alright, I think I said about the prelude what I had in mind to say about studying it. And the fugue, I think there is not too much to say, in the sense that if you go to take my video about the prelude and fugue in F sharp major, I think you will find in there study ideas that would be applicable here. In particular, if you want to render this fugue with a concerto allegro of string concerto style in a Vivaldi fashion. And you know that Bach admired Vivaldi. He rearranged, I think, three or four of Vivaldi's string concertos for the organ, to play himself at the organ, and are beautiful things to hear. The Bach Vivaldi concertos, or better, the Vivaldi Bach concertos, I would rather say. So why not reading this fugue with that spirit? But however, it's not the only possibility, so I don't want to dictate anything about this. Go according to your preference. Well, let's take just a couple of bars, for example, here when there are all the three voices. So first left hand. This is sufficient. 3-4 times to start familiarizing with the keys, with the notes, and at every repetition to see what degree of, whole physical action helps you to be smoother and fluid. There is some rotation, some moving forward, backward, some falls. So smoothing down things. And I feel always it's a good idea, after you have worked a bit on all the notes, to remove the secondary notes in the musical flowing rhythm and practice your, macro movements in your playing mechanism on the main beats of the musical flow. So and then you fill up. Trying to do it without interruption, because you want to shift your presence from a rational mind control to letting you dance with this flow, and trying to let your body to drive it, while your body develops familiarity, memory with those gestures, that choreography you want to accomplish. We find the trickiest problem in this fugue in terms of technical issues to deal with, especially for me when it comes actually in the left hand. So I jump at the next line, so where we are here. Depending on the keys you are in this figuration, that is a double, you know, how to say, an overlapping of lines. Depending on the keys that you are in, because it appears so many times in different keys, at least for me, it is sometimes very, very tricky. And how I studied that? Well, I did like that. First, I remove the notes as usual. I try to develop control on the main frame of the rhythm in the line, and then gradually I fill up with the secondary note. What does it mean? And while you fill up, you also realize that there are movements that you cannot perform with that extension. So you have to limit them, but still would be present. And to find that tiny amount of presence that is the right amount that makes things fluid, comfortable, and effective. If you hear my performance, perhaps you notice that I try to play with a bit of echo effects here in these two bars, if you like that, like. And so depending on the speed you want to play this, it might be fairly difficult, you know, actually even much difficult for me later when there are certain keys. However, it's a matter of having time to practice that. The right hand is less problematic. Here this is an example. I think there are 2, 3, perhaps 4, where the theme is split across the two hands. So some attention in getting that note in the theme present. After you have practiced a bit all the notes, perhaps many more times slowly than fast, then to remove the secondary note. Same story here. working on that. I think the things I said are always applicable. Here again, there is a step where for me is very complicated to handle the text. To work with many combinations of removed notes and maintained notes to shift this game of removing and keeping the notes written, not to work on too complicated things at the very first time. So to gradually develop your orientation and familiarity in this game you have here. It's very complicated for me. I show you the fingers I decided to use. So the last line. Left hand. The right hand. Alright, I think I said what I had in mind to say. Thank you for watching this video if you reached this point, and I hope to see you again in one of my next presentations.